Welcome to Everything Co-op, bringing you information on how cooperatives can help improve your quality of life. This show is being sponsored by the National Co-op Bank, NCB. The NCB is dedicated to strengthening communities nationwide for the delivery of banking and financial services for the nation's cooperatives, their members, and other socially responsible organizations. For more information on the power of community ownership, visit ncb.coop. That's ncb.coop. Now stay tuned for your host, Vernon Oakes.
Good morning, everybody. This is Vernon Oakes. Welcome to Everything Co-op. This morning, we are continuing celebrating February, which is Black History Month, and the theme is health and wellness this year. How important is health and wellness to the Black community? And to talk about that and farming, we have Anita and Thomas Roberson. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to be here.
Great to have you this morning. And where are you guys located?
We're located in Spotsylvania County in the Massaponax region, about, 55 miles from Washington, D.C. We're almost centrally located between Richmond and Washington, D.C.
And our address is Fredericksburg, Virginia.
Okay. So you are in Virginia, that great southern state of the Confederacy. Okay, no, we won't go there. Okay, so, let's go back to history. Anita, how long has your family been farming?
We've been farming, we're fourth generation farmers. Let's say we go back to before the Civil War, basically. My great-great-grandfather, Lewis Terrell, was born in 1858. And over his lifetime, he accumulated 160 acres,
wow,
most of which family still has. And he was primarily a dairy farmer. He grew vegetables. He had everything he needed to feed his 19 children and his wife.
Wow.
So he had a pretty massive operation. And, learning about my great-grandfather, because I never met him, was just an interesting journey, because it tells that in agriculture, our food tells a remarkable story of not only our personal history, but, our dietary history, from the remarkable recipes our grandparents passed down through generations to the different seeds and different food products that, are culturally significant to us.
And, when we look at things over the history, Doc, we think about land, and land is something that's very precious. Men can make a lot of different things. They can build spaceships, cars, or whatever, but they cannot reproduce land. And land is a precious commodity, not only for African Americans, but for everyone. So land is something that's special, and it's something that we should hold on to and prepare it and keep it for our children to come. So land, Anita and I, we adopted this saying about land being, it means livelihood, ancestors, dignity, and determination.
Yeah, so nobility from which we came. The N stands for, paying tribute to our ancestors who worked hard to make this way for us, because we are their dreams.
All right.
Yes.
But Rob, speaking of ancestors, what about you growing up? Did you grow up on a farm or in urban? Where did you grow up?
Yes, I did. I grew up with my great-grandfather, and his mother was a slave in Amherst County, Virginia. And I grew up on a farm, and before I went to school, I had to milk cows and as we talked, slop the hogs and feed the chickens and all of that, and then go to school and come back and do the same thing while I maintained a academic, really great average. So, life been a struggle.
Yeah, but hard work pays off.
Well, you get the work ethic, and I did have to slop hogs growing up, and we had about 100 chickens, and we farmed about an acre. There was seven of us, and my father would have us down, and we would do vegetables and stuff. But yeah, I don't call myself a farmer, though, but I do like to get my hands in the dirt. Okay, so how did you guys meet?
Well, we met prior to me going into the military. I was in the reserves, and I was getting ready to go active duty. And at the time, I was working for the Department of the Army, and I met him, believe it or not, at a Halloween party.
All right.
And he wasn't in costume, so I really knew what he looked like. And, he asked me to dance, and I almost melted. And in our conversation, I was being assigned to San Antonio, Texas, and he was headed to San Antonio, Texas. So after we danced, he says, maybe I'll see you in San Antonio. And I'm thinking, San Antonio has a population of probably millions of people, and us crossing paths, we did.
We did.
And at the time when we did, I didn't even recognize him.
Luther Vandross is a really good guy. I mean, he was a really good guy. And his music influenced us a lot.
Okay. All right. So how long were you in the military?
I served for 8.5 years, and he was about to retire. And at the time, our son was about 3 years old. And he said, I'm not going to follow you all over the world. I've done my 20 plus. So I'm getting ready to get out. You make a decision. And I said, well, Julian's at the point he's getting ready to go to school. So I decided to exit, and I was hoping we'd get to the Northern Virginia region so I could, find a civil service job and apply that time. And that's what I did.
And the military offered me some good opportunities. When I was 17, and my mother actually had to sign for me to join the military, I came in as a supply clerk, issuing out things and changing sheets. But I left as a heart surgery perfusionist and as a physician assistant.
Heart surgeon?
So
heart surgeon?
Heart surgery perfusionist.
Okay.
So I was the one that kept the body alive while the surgeons put the stents in or the grafts in. Mm-hmm. So, it really offered me some opportunities, and I took advantage of it. And I came out after 23 years in the military, and I did some emergency medicine here locally and then in a private practice. And when I told everyone that I was going farming, they thought I was crazy. So here I am right now farming.
All right. Is there any relationship between this farming and the work that you did in terms of health? Or what is the relationship?
Yes, a lot of my patients, a lot of the people that I talk to, prescribe medications for, diagnosed with different diseases or whatever, a lot of them became our customers, And these people, they relied on us because in our farm, we don't use any pesticides, no type of herbicides, fungicides or anything. It's all, we're certified naturally grown. So the farm is really taken off for us. And Doc, if when we look back, we think about the history of farming, and in the 40s, 30s and 40s and 50s, 1930, 40, 50, there were 950,000 black farms. But now there are only about 25,000 black farms. And a lot of people,
less than 2%.
A lot of people think that African Americans were killed because they were black, but they were actually, the people were actually taking their land. And land, it was a commodity then, and it's a commodity now. So that's where we're at.
And I think another reason we were attracted to farming, it gave us sort of the control over our schedules. It gives you exercise, allows you to commune with nature, a lot of the things that keep you healthy, and the ability to grow food that is of high quality, is packed with nutrition, and then allows you to experiment with different foods that, you may not have grown up with.
So I got that the 1910s census, there were blacks owned 15 million acres of land, and that's down to like 2.5 million today. So tremendous drop in land and farmers. And unfortunately, there are blacks that left the farms in the South and went north, whether it was Chicago, New York, wherever. But a lot of times it's because we could not get loans. We could not do the farming, and people made it hard. And Shirley Sherrard, they had 6,000 acres in Georgia, and they sold them poison soil. So there's all kinds of tricks and stuff to take the land, and they took the land. So that's one of the major issues. But I want to talk a lot about health here, health and wellness. And you talked about you have organic foods on your farm, you exercise, and you put nutrition. So don't you think soul food has a lot of nutrition in it? The foods that we as a community, what we would eat?
Soul food is a broad spectrum. And, a lot of times when we think of soul food, we think of foods like pork chops and chitlings and pig feet. And we think of all the things that the people would give us because they didn't want it.
Slavery.
And soul food became a very popular term. And soul food, don't get me wrong, I love my pork chops. As a matter of fact, my last physician asked me what was I doing for my cholesterol, and I told him fried pork chops.
Oh my God!
So, we've grown through some things, and we've realized that a lot of our cultural foods are not as healthy as we would like for them to be. But African Americans have evolved, and we're no longer eating the same things and the things that our foreparents ate a lot of. We're evolving from the processed meats and the foods, and we're getting and we find that our population, especially here in our area, they're enjoying more of the fruits and the vegetables, and we also do honeybees and honey products and stuff. So we're finding that more African Americans are eating healthier than they did in the past, because we can't live in the past. We can't eat chitlins all our life. We have to evolve. And
we're seeing the impact of all this overprocessed food versus fresh, and our bodies weren't designed to process that type of stuff.
Well, we used to sit down at Sunday meals, and that's when you had the big meals. So you would be fried chicken, potato salad, collard greens, cooked with fat back. You may have rolls, but if you had biscuits in the morning, it was cooked with lard, which came out of pork. So we had all of these things that would lead us to poor health, which we had 10 to 20 years less lifespan than our white neighbors. We didn't live as long and had a lot of disease, which the coronavirus has saw a lot of pre-existing conditions, whether it's high cholesterol, high glucose, or high blood pressure. And all of those things were run in my family. So that seems that the problem with soul food, we knew how to make it taste good now. It's a delicacy. All of that stuff, the leftovers, that stuff, the crumbs from the tables. And that's what we were given too often as slaves, or even during Jim Crow. We could not afford it. Was that what it was like in your family too?
It was. And when we got back to the United States in 1992, we served in Europe for a while. And when we got back, we noticed that when we went to a funeral, Dr. Oates, when we went to a funeral, after the funeral, they would have what's called a repast. And they served chicken, fried chicken.
We're going to stop right there a minute. We're going to take our first break. I'm really enjoying this conversation. We'll come back and talk about farming, food, and health. We'll be right back. Please don't touch that dial.
Your news talk station.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Vernon Oaks, and the program is Everything Cooperative. We have Anita and Thomas Roberson on, and they told me that in the Army, Thomas got the nickname Rob. So is it okay if I call you Rob? Rob?
That's perfect, yeah.
So, Rob, before we took the break, we were talking about funerals. You had mentioned that there's a repast. After the funeral, you either come back to somebody's home or you come back to the church or somewhere where after the funeral, after you go to the gravesite, you come back. And you had just said before we took break, what they feed often is fried chicken. What was your point there?
My point was they're feeding us the same thing that got that guy in the casket. So it's sort of ironic that we're serving each other the same thing that contributed to our demise. So we're concerned about things like that and nutritional value and how we need to change our diet. And that was back in the early 90s. And what we've noticed since then is a change in variations of the food that we're eating. And a lot of people...
The repasses, they're offering more baked foods along with salads. But I think the other thing that we need to focus on is the exercise component, because my great-grandfather, who was an enslaved individual, even though he had the challenges of Jim Crow and the like, he still was able to live to his mid-70s, which was pretty much unheard of. I have a great aunt who just celebrated her 97th birthday, who was my father's sister. So I think, when we start thinking about diets, we need to look at the whole picture of the individual.
And the other thing is, we don't have to go out and join these mega gyms and pay hundreds of dollars. What we need to do is just get out and walk. And we don't need to run or anything or buy any expensive equiment. What we need to do is just
in the house.
Walk around a little bit.
Or garden or farm,
There are different things to exercise than spending money. So walking around is a really good thing to do. And, it really helps you. It increases your cardiovascular workout. These are things that people just take for granted. But if they start doing it and not just spending the bucks to go to the gym, but just getting out and walking in their own communities, they realize a certain benefit to that, not only physically, but mentally.
So watching what you eat and then the exercise for good health. And this history, though, going back to this history, we've come out of like slavery, Jim Crow, and as we saw with George Floyd, death by police or death where we hurt each other, but all kinds of different ways that we end up dying and dying early. What advice did you give your son? You said Julian.
Well, we gave him the advice that, he had lots of options. We impressed on him the importance of the land that we had in our family. The land gives you more options for autonomy and independence. You can leverage that land and use it to expand opportunities for yourself. Going back to my great-grandfather, my grandfather, James, was able to go to Hampton Institute. And I think in a large part, that was because of the land. Well, they were able to grow peaches and have their orchard. I remember my dad talking about how he picked peaches, to fund his education. He also attended Hampton.
And we also, when Julian was born, we started doing drip plans and other things, other educational opportunities. So he got his baccalaureate degree, and we think it's important that when you have a child, that you start planning for that child's education, because education is one of the things. So many of our children today, they face educational barriers, and these include all of those fees and bills that they accumulate to get their education. And when our son graduated, he didn't owe a penny because we had prepared
planned from day one.
So it's important. It's important that we prepare for our kids' education. Education is so important, Doc. We can't just mention that.
And going back to education, the USDA, under their 1890s land grant college scholarship program, that's an opportunity for young people to go to school for free. They pay for the room and board, as well as provide them a stipend annually.
Yeah, most of the HBCUs, if you get a degree in agriculture, a lot of them provide just your whole 4-year ride free of charge. All you have to do is graduate. So there are some opportunities out there. And most of those people, they don't end up farming. They end up in
administrative positions at USDA.
So, and I laughed when you said that all you have to do is graduate. My mother told me before I went to college, you are going to party, Vernon. I know that. Just do your work first. Do your homework first. Do your reading first. And then go party. And I took her up on that most of the time. And so I was fortunate enough with her leading me. I ended up on honor societies and honor roll and good grade point average, like you were talking about, Rob. That was instilled in excellence. That was part of growing up. You had to be better than. Okay, that's as a black person in America, you had to outperform in order to survive and grow. And coming out of Jim Crow and slavery and all of that, that was instilled on us. And education. My grandfather talked about no matter if he was sober or drunk, and he was World War I vet. My father was World War II vet. But there was get an education, boy, get an education, boy, get an education. So we've got food, exercise, and get an education. And that's the fifth principle of cooperatives. Information, knowledge, training. And that's one of the reasons, the first reason I like co-ops when I got to know about them. So talk to me about co-ops. Are you all involved in co-ops? And if so, how are you involved in co-ops?
Well, we're members of this great Fredericksburg Food Co-op, and it not only provides us with education, it enables us to provide a lot of our fresh produce to our community. We're also members of the Federation of Southern Cooperatives. We also work with Virginia State University to help expand their small farm outreach program by serving as mentors and letting people know that, agriculture is a very viable career option. We went into agriculture late in our careers, and so we're senior farmers, but we're still having a wonderful time doing this. It keeps us, like we said, active and engaged in our community. And it's something that we just really, really enjoy. There's nothing like touching that rich soil. I mean, it's just like that movie Avatar. When I'm out there in that garden, I touch that dirt, or, I see an earthworm, something, I guess, tingles inside of me that just makes my day.
And Doc, when she uses the word we, that usually means I have to do it. So
he has to do it too.
Okay, so all right. So I've got this. You had said when you had met Rob that you had a tingling, or I forgot what the term you used. So walking around on the farm, you get the tingle, then you went and I see Rob got his arm around you, so you all still look like y'all still madly in love with each other.
Yeah, we're still together after 40 years.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Hey, Doc, they told me after 20 years I was up for parole.
Okay.
But I'm the warden, so it's not happening.
Okay.
Yeah, but the farming, it does give us a lot of opportunities to be together and work together, and we find that deeply enriching. It's enriching for our relationship. It's enriching for us to reach out, and not only do we just do this for business, but we've delivered thousands of pounds of food to the food banks in our area, and it's very important
because
that we do this.
In the state of Virginia, 1 out of 11 people is suffering from food insecurity. So if people like us don't step in to fill the gap, that's a lot of hungry people.
And we're just a small farm. We're no major conglomeration or anything like that. But we do what we can.
So I like this idea that you all give food to the food banks. Is there a way I can come buy from your farm? You said you have customers. I know you sell through the co-op, but is there a way of buying too?
Yes, we have an on-site food stand that we market vegetables to. But in this COVID era, we like to practice food safety and only ask that you give us a call or contact us on our website before coming by so that we can keep you safe as well as other people.
What's your website?
Our website is Botanical Bites and Provisions LLC.com. Botanical Bites and Provisions LLC.com.
Okay.
Now, you know that I didn't think of that name.
Okay. It's too big. I got you. Botanical Bites and Provisions LLC.com. We're going to take our second break and we'll be right back. All right. Got it. Mm-hmm. Thank you, everybody. Welcome back, everybody. This is Vernon Oaks, and the program is Everything Cooperative. This program, we've been on the air for about 8.5 years, and the National Cooperative Bank has been our sponsor. They've been great friends. They've helped us financially, but more importantly, they've been just a great partner in helping us to understand this cooperative world and giving us advice on who we could have on the show and so forth. So we just want to give a shout out to them. Their mission is to help to support co-ops and the cooperators by providing innovative financial services. And that's what they do. And I found out from Richelieu Rochelle at the cooperative, the Fredericksburg Food Co-op, that National Cooperative Bank gave them your loan. It was a guaranteed SBA 7A loan, but that the lender was NCB. And I also understand from the SBA rep in the area that this is the only 7A loan for co-op so far. So for you other cooperators out there, that you can go get loans through SBA now. And Richelieu Rochelle and the Fredericksburg Cooperative are the first ones, and they went through that process, and National Cooperative Bank is the lender. So we were talking about the farm. We were talking about the good food that comes out of it, the nutritional foods for health, exercise. What about, I had a guy on, that first year that was talking about different things you can do to keep the rabbits and the deer and other things. How do you keep these animals from coming in and eating up all your food?
Thank you for asking. That's a really good question. And part of that, Doc, is that you have to develop a business plan. And in your business plan, you have to realize pest control and, environment control. And what we do is we use a 3D electric fence that is solar panel. It's solar powered. So we don't pay a lot of money into electricity. And what we do with the 3D electric fence, and this is a fencing system that we developed after a friend of ours, Jim Hankins, who runs the Fauquier Virginia Farms.
Education.
Yeah. And
farm.
so he showed us how to do this, and we set it up, and it really turned into something really good for us. I'd say we reduced by at least 93% of our pests, of our varmints, by using the 3D electrical fencing. And if anyone is interested in that, they can give us a call at 540-287-5734. And we can try to arrange for a demonstration so they can see this fencing system, because it really worked out really well for us. And it was productive, it worked, and we didn't have to continuously put a lot of money into it. So that's one of the things that we did for that. And as far as...
Well, the other thing I was going to say is farming's just like any other thing. Falling on my Christian roots, you have to pay your farming tithes also, because critters are going to have their say. You're going to have birds flying in, insect pressure. So when you plant, you got to give your due to the animals too. That's one thing that you need to keep in mind. Plant 10% for nature, because they have to eat too.
Got it. Now, would you give that telephone number again?
Yes, 540-287-5734.
So I also heard you say that you are working with Virginia State, that's in Petersburg, Virginia, and helping as mentors for new farmers. So what advice do you give the new farmers?
I think the first advice we give them is to establish a business plan, because if you don't establish a plan, then you're going to plan to fail. So establish a plan, establish your goals, and set reasonable goals. The other thing is we've noticed over our years of growing is that you have to grow the things that will sell. For instance, 4 years ago, I grew beets, and beets, that's a vegetable that you love or you will hate. But we found that marketing it just wasn't a good thing. But now, all of a sudden, beets they've become the superfood for everyone. Mm-hmm. And now we can't grow enough beets. So it depends. The market is what we depend on. And things that we can grow and we can grow successfully doesn't mean a thing if we can't market it.
And know your customers, because, a lot of foods that people eat are culturally acceptable. We grew patty pan squash, I think a second year, and we had, a bumper crop, and half the people didn't know what they were. They thought they were mushrooms because they're used to yellow squash. So know your customers, know their palates. And then the other thing, going back to Virginia State University, they have something called the Small Farm Outreach Program. They provide tons of training programs, webinars. Virginia Tech has the Virginia New and Beginning and Ranchers Coalition. They have all types of training programs. If you work and you can't attend a class at night, the webinar is cataloged, so you can go in and look at it at your leisure.
And we used the Virginia State University. We used their irrigation techniques to do our farm, and it's really been profitable. Mm-hmm. We've cut down on our water usage, and it increased the amount of water that we're delivering to the vegetables. So there's a lot of good, interesting things. And just because you grew up on a farm and you think you know everything, attend some classes sometimes.
Agriculture has changed.
So what I'm hearing you say is you got two kinds of things you have to do. You have to know how to farm, how to grow things, and you have to know the business side of it. You have to know your customer. You have to know you have your business plan. You have to understand finances. You just cannot just grow something because what you grow, your customers may not want, and they may not pay for it. And therefore
marketing is key.
Marketing is key. What are you selling to the co-op, Fredericksburg Cooperative Food Co-op? What do you provide to them?
We have provided in the past a lot of leafy greens, such as collards, kale, onions, I think it was, cucumbers.
Yep, tomatoes. Yeah, things that are natural to our area, because we can't grow pineapples in Virginia, so we have to grow what we can in the time spaces. And with Virginia State University, we've also been able to obtain high tunnels, which allow us to expand our growing season, so we can grow earlier and we can provide foods later into the year. So we're trying to grow what we can market in our area. And we find that.
What's the season now? What's the season from what time do you start to what time you end?
Well, we're already growing now, but we're growing in our farmhouse. And in the farmhouse, we're growing collards, kale, pak choy, broccoli, all the cabbage, lettuce, things that can survive in a winter type of environment. So we're already starting to grow now. And then once those little seeds, once they reach an appropriate size, we can put them out into our high tunnels and start growing.
Elephant garlic and onions in the ground now.
Yep. And we're also growing a couple of big rabbits, unfortunately.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a rabbit soup. Okay. So now, if you're not using pesticides and all of these different kinds of things, What do you use for fertilizer? Do you use leaf mulching or manure fertilizer?
Actually, we use a material that we buy from. I'm not going to mention any specific dealers or providers, but we use a thin mesh material that we place over our rows of vegetables. It's called row cover, and that row cover, it's so thin that rain can get through it and sun can get through it, but the insects can't get inside. So our vegetables, our plants, they're big, they're luscious, they're beautiful. And when we uncover it and it's time for us to harvest, we have just an abundance of fresh, beautiful vegetables that we can bring to market. And so this, it suppresses
the insect pressure.
Yeah, our insect pressure is practically 2%. So we're able to come to market, and by doing this, we don't have to use those chemicals and stuff and spray our plants or use dust or anything like that on our plants. And a lot of times we'll prepare, we call it our special, and that's nothing but oil
and red pepper.
Yeah, and it's just
cayenne.
Yeah, cayenne pepper, and we just spray some of our plants with something like that. But we don't use the chemicals because so many people, they're worried about cancer and different things in their lives. So we prefer to just keep it simple. And so that's what we do. We use a lot of row cover. And it increases the cost a little bit, but nothing tremendous. And so it's not.
What I just got from you is we farm about an acre of land. How many acres do you all farm?
About three.
About 3
acres, yeah.
The two of us.
And it's just the two of us. So
and we have some volunteers and that'll come by and help us out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm looking to buy some land, maybe 3 to 5 acres is what I can get to. So you all come down and you can mentor me on how to do this.
Definitely.
But the part I like best, I didn't like the rowing. We had a guy with a horse and stuff to put the rows in, turn it to soil and put the rows in. And then we would come and plant it. And I didn't like the weeding. I didn't like the planting. The only part I liked about the farming aspect was harvesting and eating. Those were my 2 favorite pieces of it. Okay. So when you're talking about how lush these greens are, I'm going, so I got to call this number 540-287-5734 or put up that sign again, your webpage. You had a card there.
Okay.
Botanical Bites and Provisions LLC.com. A marketplace for healthy foods, luscious plants, beautiful flowers, and aspiary products. What's APIARY?
Apiary.
That's the honeybees.
Also beekeepers.
Oh. Okay. So what does the bees provide? What foods do the bees provide?
Well, the bees help pollinate our vegetables and our fruit plants, as well as provide us with honey. And I also do a value-added piece where I make lip balms, lotions, and salves and soaps.
Yeah. And we realized after we got the honeybees.
From the beeswax and the honey.
The honeybees, so they pollinated our plants. So we noticed that our productivity increased because of the honeybees, because they pollinated just about everything out there. So not only were we growing stuff, but now the pollination has increased. So our productivity, instead of getting 1 tomato, we got 5 tomatoes. Wow. Because the bees were out there just pollinating everything. And we also did a wildflower. We do wildflowers all around our farm. They're beautiful and they attract a lot of customers. So the wildflowers are there, the bees are there, and
it's gardening in harmony with nature.
Yeah, it's just it's awesome.
gardening in harmony with nature. And with that, gardening in harmony with nature, we're going to take our final break here. I told you this hour would go by really quick. We only have one more segment to go. And when we come back, we've been talking about the past and what you're doing now, what you're providing, and so forth. I want to talk about the future. What do you see in the future, particularly coming out of COVID-19? We'll be right back.
Your news talk station.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Everything Co-op. This is Vernon Oakes and Anita and Rob Roberson are on with us today. We're just having fun talking about farming in Fredericksburg, Virginia. They have grown up on farming before they went to school, and after coming home from school, met in the military. They both in the Army. Rob was 23 years and Anita 8.5 years. And so we've been talking about the past. I want to talk about the future now, because what COVID showed us was that in our community, in the Black community, there was a lot of pre-existing conditions. In my family, it is diabetes, which I have, and high blood pressure, which I have. And the doctors tell me there's 3 things I need to do: take my meds, eat right, and exercise. Those are the food as medicine. So what should we be doing to come out of this COVID and the lessons that we've learned in COVID for 2 years now?
Some of the things that I've learned is, when we think of exercise, I've got to be quite honest, we have to live within our limitations and set reasonable goals. When I first got back from Europe and we moved here in Fredericksburg, I was running 5 miles in the morning before I would go to work. And I can't do that now. I'm 65, and if I look at the road, I'm probably getting in my car. So, things have changed, and we have to live within our limitations. And if you're going to exercise within your limitations. Don't go out there and buy those spandex and think you're going to run 10 miles. You just live within your expectations, but please get some exercise. It's very important that you do, but it's also important that you realize your limitations and you contact your physician, before you get into any type of exercise routine. It's important that you live within your limitations, but it's very important that you exercise. As far as eating correctly, we can't stress that enough. And as African Americans, we really need to cut down on the salt. Sugar. We need to cut down on the sugar.
Processed sugar.
Yeah. Those are things that are really, really important, because you're not living for yourself. You're living for your children and your grandchildren. So it's important that you live within your expectations and set reasonable goals. I'm not telling you to stop eating cake, but I'm telling you, don't eat
the whole cake.
The whole thing.
That's my problem.
Yeah.
Okay. I can't eat one bite. All right, I got it.
Yeah. Start thinking about fruit. When you have developed that sweet tooth, eat that apple, because diabetes is rampant in my family, as well as heart disease and high blood pressure. So, we need to think about what we put in our bodies, and it goes back to, good nutrition and good eating habits.
Yeah, sir. I was working on the farm one day and I gave Anita a pail and I told her to go and get the blackberries. She came back with 4 blackberries in the pail and her mouth was all black and blue.
1 for the pail, 5 for me. I got
Yeah.
it.
But so it's important that we eat healthy, but eating, working out, our physical and our mental responsibilities, because it's very important that we have a very good mental mindset about what we're doing. And
also, seeing that health practitioner, on schedule, because a lot of times we in the minority community will put off going to see our family physician to get that wellness check, because a lot of times these conditions, if caught early, there are measures that could mitigate, serious consequences down the road.
And as far as preparing vegetables, we are always experimenting. We just never do the same thing many times. We'll experiment with asparagus, with
the Brussels
strawberries,
sprouts. There's a salad that I love with Brussels sprouts,
collards, Swiss chard. We're always experimenting, and we find things that we like, and some things we do not like. But I can't just tell you a particular recipe that's going to fit your lifestyle. But I do think that everyone should experiment with their vegetables and find it. A lot of people hate the
Brussels sprouts.
Brussels sprouts, yeah. But we find if we put honey and mix it with a little mustard, it's delicious. Yeah. So you've got to experiment with vegetables. Don't just depend on someone to give you a recipe. You go out there and do it.
I like putting Brussels sprouts on the grill. I like grilling.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah, they're. I would have trouble with the honey with the diabetes. It would push up my glucose. But that sounds like a great recipe. Now, do you use technology in particularly in the farming side of it? Besides doing your business plan, I assume you use that technology for that. But
yes, I'm glad you asked that question. Technology has played a tremendous role in our farming techniques. Technology has played a tremendous part in our irrigation. We use solar panels on our farm.
Marketing. We use a lot of social media.
Yeah, I mean, technology is the point for marketing. And
I also was able to capture the interest of my nieces and great nephews through technology, because I'm not real good when it comes to Instagram. I didn't know. I saw them doing it and I said, you all have to teach me how to do this Instagram thing. Now I have a whole community. I have over 1,000 followers and I just started last year. So, you can do it.
Yeah, technology it's awesome, but you have to use it. And if you ignore it, it's just like planning to fail.
So I was not using the phone and texting people until I realized that's the only way I'm going to talk to my daughter. They don't use the phone. I still like the phone better than texting and emails and all of these other things. But I'm learning. And by the way, Rob, you're a young boy. I'll be 75 this year, so you're young. Okay, yeah, y'all young. And I'm not doing no 5 miles, no jogging either.
You got to tell his knees that.
I remember when 30-year-olds were old or 40-year-olds were old, but no, not anymore. Definitely. What about cover crops? What do you recommend in the wintertime for cover crops?
We use a combination of cover crops. We do the canola, and we'll do the clover,
red clover,
and
hairy vetch.
Hairy vetch. Yeah. So we do a combination of cover crops in the open field, and that helps to suppress a lot of the weeds that we would have. And we also use a lot of
leaf mold.
Yeah, and we use a lot of plastic mulch, but it's not the real
thin plastic.
It's a little thicker.
It's woven.
It's woven so that the rain and stuff can get down between it, but the weeds find it really difficult. So when we uncover to grow our crops, we have clear fields to work in, and
it solarizes. Yeah,
that's what we do, and it helps prepare our soil. And we also use Virginia Tech to do soil samples every year, and we test our water annually too. So we do these things to prepare our soil to make sure that the pH is correct and the nutrients that we need to grow our vegetables are there. So it's a learning process for us.
So all of that learning, what about, would you do a cooking class at the Fredericksburg Co-op?
Sure, we'd love to do it. He's more of the chef than I am. I'm more of the floral person, but he's the cook.
Yeah, throughout our years of marriage, I'm the primary cook. So, yeah, so I guess I'll go with that.
All right. I understand that the former Virginia governor's wife had visited you guys.
Yes, during Agricultural Week in Virginia, we got a call, and I think they were amazed that we had the Instagram account, the Facebook account, and we were subscribed to Marker Maker, which is a marketing, and we had, we accept up on our farm. And she reached out and said that she wanted to come and visit, and she brought her entourage and spent a morning with us. So,
and she left with one of our little baby frogs.
Was she able to leave you any information, or were you able to help her at all with information, knowledge?
She left some information, some suggestions she had, because she had grown up on a farm, and she had recommended that we put in a cistern because I think she was from Texas, and she was concerned because our farm has a well system that, we have enough water to irrigate with, and advised us. And she gave us a beautiful plaque to recognize our contributions to Virginia agriculture.
I want to thank you guys so very much. We run out of time. What message would you like to leave people with in the last minute?
To know their farmers and continue to support local farmers. I think we may be in, especially if this war in Europe continues, to see significant stress on our economy, and our farmers are going to play a role in that. So be kind to your farmers, because they may be the resource you're going to need.
We got to go. I'm sorry. I'd love to talk more and hear what you have to say, Rob, but thank you very much. And everybody out there, thank you for joining us. Live this week cooperatively, work with and help each other, and we'll be back next Thursday. Thank you.
Your news talk station.